Hey everybody, this is Julian and welcome to the first video on this YouTube channel. This channel will be all about the tech stuff that I use or tinker with, and I have no idea what videos will come in the future, but let's start with the first one. And this one will be all about my NAS that I'm using for my photos and videos that I shoot, from my media, TV shows, movies, stuff like this, and all the other data that I don't need permanently on my laptop. The NAS is also my backup for my laptop and has all the important files on it. But let's take you down there and show you the NAS. So here you can see my little network rig. On top is my cheap Wi-Fi router with AC Wi-Fi, and under here is my HP micro server. It's an older model. I have it for 2 or 3 years, I think, maybe longer. And in there I have 4 3TB drives. They are all mixed. Some of them are WD green, some of them are Seagate. Oh, and by the way, this is so cute how they put the tools in the door here. I love it. The way I have them set up is I have a RAID with 3 of the drives, and one of them is separate as an additional backup. And this is all managed by FreeNas. I'm using FreeNas on there since I bought the micro server, and I've used ZFS for a software RAID on these 3 drives. Let me talk just a little bit about ZFS if you don't know the file system. It's a really nice file system if you want to use software RAID, and it's available in Linux, FreeBSD, which FreeNas is based on, and Solaris, I have no idea, and Mac OS X. Yeah, it has really great features, like you can build a RAID Z, which is like similar to a RAID 5. So if you have 3 drives, one of the 3 drives can fail, all your data will still be there. So I have 3 3TB drives in there. That gives me a total usable space of 6 TB, but one drive can fail without me losing all my data, which is good. But you always should remember, a RAID is not a backup. That's why I have the separate 3TB drive in there to back up all my important data that I really don't want to lose on there, like my photos and stuff like that. That will be safe if the RAID fails. Oh, now the phone is going. So some other cool features of ZFS are compression. You can enable compression for the whole file system, so it automatically compresses all of your data, and you don't notice anything of it, except that it uses a bit of CPU power. Yeah, that's cool. And you also can do snapshots of the system. For example, you delete a file and it's gone, you can't get it back, but you have a snapshot from yesterday. You can roll back the snapshot, you have your file back, which is really nice, and it already came to use a couple of times, which is quite nice. And yeah, it has a lot of advanced features like that. Those are the 2 that I use and that I like a lot, especially the snapshot feature. It's a lifesaver, it's so good. Well, and now I want to change from FreeNas to Arch Linux. Why would I do that? Why would I touch all the system that handles all my data and replace it by a new one? It's mainly because I want to play around with Arch Linux on there and set up everything on my own. That's probably the main reason, but I also had some problems with media servers that are provided by FreeNas as packages. They never really worked really good for me, but I also didn't spend too much time to get them working. But with Arch Linux I want to install them by my own and configure them all by my own, so it should hopefully work better then. And I also don't really like the web interface of FreeNas. I know that they are developing a new one with FreeNas 10, but it's not out yet. But yeah, the main reason is I just want to play around with new stuff. maybe I show you what stuff I have set up on the NAS in FreeNas in the web interface. Then we can start with preparing everything to change to Arch Linux. Ah yeah, one thing I forgot, it is possible to use my software RAID as it is right now in Arch Linux, so I can export it in FreeNAS and re-import it in Arch Linux, which is very nice, so I don't have to copy everything somewhere else, so yeah. Alright, so this is the interface of FreeNAS. Here you can see the machine name, all the specs, nothing too interesting. And over here we can see all of our disks. The first 3 are for the RAID and the last one is separate. Yeah, and over here we can see the volumes. So the first one is called storage, 6 terabytes. It has compression enabled as well as this one. They are both healthy, which is good. And let's go to the status. Here we can see it's a RAID set, and the RAID set is using those 3 partitions. So that is all good. And over here we have the snapshot feature I talked about. So I'm doing a snapshot every 2 hours the system is running. You can see them here. And for sharing, I have some Windows shares for my movies. And the main shares I'm using are storage with the Apple V protocol, which is for my storage volume, and backup, which is the second volume, which also has Time Machine enabled, as you can see. My laptop is backing up to this volume, and also a Mac Mini, which we have in the living room. So that is cool. And over here we can see the plugins. That is one of the media servers I played around with. It's called Emby, but I had a lot of problems with it. I couldn't update it anymore. It wasn't working really good, and I want to do it probably and all on my own, and then it's also hopefully gonna work someday. All we have to do now to safely export the volume is we have to go to storage, we have to go to view volumes, and then we have to export, which we can do with detach. I'm not gonna do that right now, but after I get all my stuff ready for Arch Linux, I will do that, and after that we can safely re-import the NFS volume in Arch Linux. Alright, I now exported all of the drives. I made a backup of the USB stick that contains the FreeNas installation, and I created an Arch Linux boot USB drive. I'm now gonna plug this in, and before I do anything else I pull out all of the drives, just so that nothing can happen to all of my precious data. Cool. Alright, I have the monitor connected to the micro server and also our keyboard. Now let's power it up and see what happens. I don't know which key I have to press for the boot menu. Press F. Okay. Boot. Can I select it here? Should be the right one. Let's see. Oh yes. Oh. Which one do I want? 64. Well, this could take a while. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Now all I'm gonna do is follow the beginner's guide on the ArchWiki. I'm not gonna record this, but yeah, you can look it up, what I've done. It's all in the wiki. When everything is installed to the stick, I'll be back, and then we're gonna install ZFS and import the RAID and do everything else that's interesting. So after the Arch installation, I've set up the system just with the basic stuff. I created the users I need. I set up SSH and stuff like that, a simple firewall. And now it's time to install ZFS. And ZFS is not in the main repository of Arch, but there's a separate repository which we can install. It's called Arch ZFS, and to do that we just need to add the server URL to the Pacman configuration. Just paste it in there. Now we first have to make sure that the packages in the repository have support for the kernel version that we installed. Otherwise it won't work. The kernel I'm running also matches the one in the Git repository of the package, that's good. And so we can try to install it, but that didn't work. We first have to set up the repository correctly. So that involves syncing and downloading the repository. And then also, because it's a signed repository, we have to install the key correctly. But after that, we can install the ZFS Linux tools. Okay, so let's pop the drives back in, and then we can boot and find out whether ZFS finds them or not. Alright, that should be a really fast and easy process. Just put all the drives back in, and that should be it. Let's start it up again. Cool. Okay, so the first thing to do is to enable the ZFS daemon. So it automatically starts with the system on boot time and also started right away. And at that point I already heard the drives rattling, so that was a good sign. And then I checked whether the pools are found and imported by ZFS, and let's hear my live reaction to that. And ooh, we can see both of the pools are there. That's cool. Storage is here and backup is here. Awesome. And the next step is to mount both of the pools. And ZFS already did it, but at a very weird mount point directly under the root system. So I changed that to the mount directory for both of the drives, so everything is nice and tidy. And that did work perfectly. ZFS did everything on its own, so there's no need to fiddle around with anything else than the ZFS tools. Okay, now we have to set up the maintenance tasks for ZFS, and that's mainly the scrub tool, which does all the maintenance on the pools, and it's recommended to run it once a week. And to do that we are using cron. Let's open cron tab and paste the line from the ArchWiki in there, which runs zpool scrub once a week at 7:30 p.m. Okay, now in FreeNas I had automatic ZFS snapshots and I want to continue using that. So I installed a tool called ZFS Auto Snapshot from the user repository, and I've added the cron jobs to the table. So the first one does a snapshot every 2 hours and keeps 31 of them. The second one runs daily at 7 p.m. The third one runs weekly, keeps 4 of them, and the last one runs always on the first Sunday in the month, and we are keeping 2 of those. I also installed a small other tool called HD idle, because I want my hard disks to shut down when they're idle, and it didn't work the default way with HD Palm, because my stupid Western Digital drives don't support the default way of doing it. So I use HD idle and it's working fine. Okay, and now that all the basic stuff is done, we can install the network shares. So first I'm doing the Apple File Protocol, and there's a package called NetAtalk, which is not in the main repository but in the user repository, so I'm installing that. That took a while, and then I enabled it, started it up. Everything worked fine. Yeah, and then I jumped right into the configuration file and I used the examples from the ArchWiki. Then I added all my shares. First the backup share. Let's put in the mount point, and I only want the user Yuli to be allowed to connect to this share, so I'm putting that in. And this is also going to be a time machine share, so I'm enabling this. And for the storage share, it's mainly the same. Just put in the right mount point and that's it. Okay, then restart the service and let's try to connect to it. So I've opened Finder, but the server is not listed in the network section. That's because I forgot to install and set up the Bonjour service, but it's not a problem. We can still connect to the server, it's just not visible. So let's put in the URL and enter all the details and the password, and it connected, which is cool, and all the files are there. But there were some permissions problems, so it only mounted as read-only, and I couldn't open some folders, so I've changed the owner of all of the files and folders to Yuli, which is the user I'm using to connect to the share, and then everything worked fine. So now I installed the Avahi service, which does all the Bonjour stuff, and now the server is appearing in Finder, which is nice. I also set up Time Machine, so everything's working now really good with the Apple shares. So the next step is to install Samba for the Windows shares. The first thing you have to do is to duplicate the config file and enable the service. And the cool thing with ZFS and Samba shares is that the ZFS tools are able to set up the Samba shares for you, so you don't have to configure it manually in the config file. But to get that working, a friend told me I first have to enable the user shares, and the error message ZFS tools gives you does not tell you to do that. So I've set up the user shares, but I had a typo. I created the folder var lib samba user share instead of user shares, and then ZFS still fails to enable the Samba share, as you can see, and it doesn't tell you why. So in the meantime I added a Samba user that will be able to connect to the shares, and then I finally found my typo, fixed everything, and then I tried to connect to the server via Finder. I tried first to connect as guest, which didn't work, that's good, and then I put in all the password, and after some more permissions problems I had to fix it. Finally worked. So the last step now is to install the media center I want to use. It's called Emby. It's open source. It's an alternative to Plex, which is not as popular, but should work really good, and it has more advanced settings that the user can change, which Plex doesn't have too much, because it does want to be as easy as possible. So the installation was pretty straightforward. First you need to create an Emby user and group, and after that you can install the Emby server from the user repository. It first asks what video driver you want to use, which I selected just the standard one, but after that I also installed the Radeon video driver from AMD, because the microserver has Radeon something graphics card. After that I allowed the right ports in the firewall. I also did that for Samba and the Amplify protocol, but I didn't mention it. And after that I tried to start the Emby server, which didn't work. After a little bit of fiddling around I found out that Emby couldn't use its own log folder and crashed therefore. That was because it belonged to the user root and not Emby, so I changed that. And then I started the server again, which worked, and I connected to the server via the browser. And Emby greeted me with the setup guide, so I go through all of this. I select English, put my name in there, added all the locations for my media files. So first I select the TV one, go through all the folders, selected it. And what I really liked about this is that they are using the Google Material web stuff, so it interface looks really nice, and it also works really nice and is fast, so that's really cool. So that's good stuff they've done here. I don't want to use live TV or anything else. And then I come straight through the server dashboard and I had a look through all the settings you can do. I checked out some of the plugins that are available, but I didn't install any of them yet. And after that, some of the movies and TVs already appeared in the Mediathek, which is nice. And it also did directly play in the browser in full HD, which was really cool. Okay, so the setup is now completely finished. It's running great so far. I've tested it for a few days now. The system is running stable, the shares are working fine, but I have problems with my TV. It's a Sony TV and it has some of these smart features and stuff like that, but it's not working. But let me show you what happens when I try to play something on the TV from the server. Okay, the TV is now running and I have the Emby app on my phone. And what I can do is I can select the TV as device for the playback. Then let me select Boardwalk Empire and hit play. What happens is it is sent to the TV and it will play, but not very long. After a few seconds the stream freezes, crashes like this. It says playback not available, and I have no idea why it does that. Yes, but that's the only issue I have right now. When I use the laptop and connect it to the TV to play back the movies, it's working fine. So that's not a big problem because I have a cable here right at the couch for the laptop, but this problem leads me to my next project I want to do on this channel. Right next to the TV is a Raspberry Pi. I've used it since several years just as an AirPlay server, and it's connected to my stereo so I can listen to all my music using AirPlay, which is nice. It's running Raspbian, and I also want to convert it to Arch, and then I want to install Kodi on there to stream all the media from the server. And yeah, I'm excited to see how well that works with the Raspberry 1. It's the first one. I'm glad for how the first project turned out and how well Arch Linux is running with ZFS. I didn't test the performance too much yet, but it's very stable and the boot time is a lot faster. One thing I noticed is that my 8GB USB drive is nearly full because Emby is storing a lot of data like covers and metadata on the USB stick, so I ordered a bigger one. Okay, but that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please leave feedback in the comment section below if you have any, or if you have any wishes, also leave them below. Let me know, and yeah, the next video will then be all about my Raspberry Pi and setting it up for my TV. Alright, see you then.